Hi, Tudor. How are you
Or
doing?
I'm fine. What about you, sir?
I'm doing all right, thank you. Doing fine.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that, and we're here to discuss about The Honeymoon, your upcoming movie. And 2022 has been quite the year for you since you wrote and directed The Estate and then The Honeymoon. How is it to have such a busy schedule?
Hard. It was yeah, it was like I mean an amazing year in many respects. I actually did the honeymoon first and then the estate, but I I was lucky enough to be in Venice and Rome and making the honeymoon, which was a very fun, but obviously it's in filmmaking is always very intense and intensive and challenging. And then I went pretty much straight to New Orleans to do the estates, and deal with an entirely different film, an entirely different set of challenges. So yeah, difficult to be away from family and everything, but also, very blessed situation to be in to get to make two films in a year. I mean, it's I don't know if that'll ever happen again, but yeah, it was an experience.
What was the biggest challenge in your opinion?
Wow. I mean, being away from family is difficult for that period of time. I mean, I have children and I miss them. And my wife, of course. And so that kind of side of things is difficult. And I think that, it's a bit like climbing a mountain or doing a marathon, and when you get to the end, you just want to collapse. And you get over the line and it's like, but in this case it was like you get over the line of that marathon and then someone says, okay, now go again. That's a little bit what it felt like. So from a kind of physical, mental, emotional standpoint, it's challenging to do two films in a row. I don't necessarily recommend it.
So I saw the estate too, and I was curious to know whether there was anything from the honeymoon who influenced the estate.
That's interesting. I think that they're two very different films in my head. Do you know what I mean? And I really thought of them both as very distinct from each other. So I don't know. I mean, you learn from every film that you do, obviously, and the hope is that you learn and improve and get better. And so I would hope that happens. But I think it's so like making a film is so specific. It's so specific to the story that you're trying to create, to the place where you're making the film, and to the people that you're working with, and the actors especially that you're working with. You're very so the film is really those actors in that setting, and so they I'm sure I learned things from one to the other, but it was such a quick turnaround that it's difficult. It's difficult to sort of almost see them to see what I'll have to think about that one.
No worries, no worries. That's good enough. You have already been to Italy for Love Wedding Repeat. I would like to hear your fondest memory of Italy, and I'm asking since I'm Italian, so I'm a bit biased.
Sure. Well, look, I mean, like clearly, or maybe it's not clear, but I love Italy. I mean, I have so many amazing memories of I mean, Love Wedding Repeat. I was obviously living in Rome for the entire time, which was fantastic. I mean, what a place to be able to live, even for a relatively short period. I mean, in terms of my memories, I think it's the people. I love, and that's what sort of took me back to a lot, to a large extent, to do the honeymoon. Is I just loved the Italian people that I worked with, my producers, wonderful producers and wonderful people. A lot of the crew members, some of the crew members I got to work with a second time on the honeymoon. I enjoy Italy. It's a fantastic country. It's a very beautiful country, and I'm just really fond of Italian people.
I heard some of your interviews, and you sound like an eclectic artist who likes getting his ideas from different sources. What were your main sources for the honeymoon?
Well, The Honeymoon is really a film about friendship, you know, and I think that, you know, and so when you're writing a film about friendship, I suppose one of the things you do is you go to your own friendships and, you know, examine them. And, you know, one of the things that I really wanted to make a film about was that moment in life when you have, you know, you have these friendships that are, you know, I grew up with a lot of very close male friendships, and then one by one, you know, all of my friends get married or you know, find a partner. And so that relationship, that friendship changes naturally over the, you know, through that process. And I really wanted to write something that was about that process, and but with a character who is refusing to allow that change to happen, who is, you know, hanging on for dear life onto that friendship. I thought that would be, you know, just a funny sort of relationship to explore. Um, so yeah, you know, you always take inspiration. Well, I take inspiration from wherever I can get it, but in this case, you know, it's largely a film about friendship.
So that would have been my follow-up question, and I was afraid to ask, but did you take inspiration from your life for this story?
I mean, of course, you know, you always do in certain respects. I can't say that there's one specific person that is Bav, but you know, I mean, we all have friendships that are. I mean, I think that it's the childhood friendships that are very specific, and in which, you know, and even now, as you know, the age I am, the friendships I have with people that I was friends with when we were 13, 14, we're still the same as we were when we were 13, 14. Do you know what I mean? And I'm sure you have the same. And so there's something about those friendships that I think is it's incredibly special, but it's also where those sort of boundaries get blurred, you know, and people cross over boundaries because they're not, they're different when you're younger, and so when you carry those sort of blurred boundaries into adult life, it can be quite strange, and you know, and sort of and different to the friendships you make when you're an adult. So it's really about that. I really like, you know, so I did look at, you know, my childhood friendships and, you know, and take inspiration there for sure.
I really appreciated the friendship between Bav and Adam. Even though they have been apart for a while, they seem to share a special relationship. How would you describe that?
Well, I think that, you know, there's a lot going on in their relationship. I think the idea of them is that they have been friends for a very, very long time, you know, since they were children. But then there's this sort of problem in their relationship which was brought about by the fact that one of them moved to America and the other one stayed behind and felt left behind. So they still have that kind of closeness and that sort of, you know, brotherhood almost, but at the same time there's a lot of complicated feelings in there. There's feelings of guilt that Adam has, you know, and feelings of responsibility that he has towards his friend who he feels he's left. And you know, and Bav having a feeling of sort of, you know, like having lost this guy, you know, his best friend at a certain point in his life, doesn't want to lose him again. So I think it's a, you know, it's a very specific kind of, you know, relationship that they have that is part of what leads to this whole you know, kind of fiasco that they find themselves in you know, in the film.
Yeah, briefly, this story features a wedding, annoying best man, Italian mobster, and drug dealing. What could go wrong?
Exactly. Exactly. All the things you want in a film.
You work with several comedians in your career. What is it that you look for in a comedian usually?
Being funny. No, I mean, it's really, it depends. I mean, I think that I work with people, or I try to work with people that I respect and whose work I admire and like, and you know, and that I feel would be a good fit for me. I mean, Asim is a very good example of somebody who I've watched his work since you know, since he came around and doing People Just Do Nothing. I think he's incredibly talented and funny, and so it was a real thrill to get to work with him. I mean, he's really one of the best that we have, I think, in the UK at the moment. Similar with Maria. I mean, I watched her with you know, in Borat, and just thought she was phenomenal, and you know, just sort of like grabbed the opportunity to potentially work with her and was delighted when she came on board, and she's a very lovely, wonderful person as well to add to it. So I think that it's that mixture of things really, but it's, you look for talent, you look for that special talent, that's what you want. And I think Pico had that as well. Like, he's an extremely talented young actor. I think he's going to go a very long way. I think he's we were very lucky to have him in the film. And then Lucas, of course, who is also like a different but very special kind of talent. That's so I think, the four of them are so completely different from each other, but I think bring something very special to the film. So I think we were very lucky with that cast. And also, filmmaking, as we've said, is a difficult process. So when you've got people who are really lovely to work with and a pleasure to work with, that is, that's not to be taken for granted.
Is there any particular scene from the movie you enjoyed shooting or writing? Or shooting and writing scenes? You did both.
I mean, so many, I have to say. I mean, there were so many scenes that were fun that I kind of just like, I remember like looking forward to doing the scenes. I mean, the scene in the bedroom when Bav is planning to surprise the couple. I mean, that was not an easy scene to shoot, but a fun one. The scene where Bav is shouting on the canal. Do you remember that, when they kind of go by the gondola? I was really
everyone is looking at him. Yes.
Exactly. And I was really looking forward to shooting that, and sort of dreading it at the same time, because I knew there's no way of doing this except that Asim Bav has to scream his head off in the middle of Venice, and and we did have people like shouting back. I remember there was someone like random, like in Venice somewhere, shouting Adam. Anyway, like shouting back to Bav. So it was, that was a very fun and funny one to do. Yeah, there were a lot though. It was non-stop on that film.
You mentioned Asim. The post-credit scene is money, at least in my opinion. How did he come up with that? Or I don't know, was it your idea? It was money, at least to me.
The as in with his the real life moment.
Yes.
I really hope people hang on and watch that, because it is lovely. I mean, it's we discussed it. His then girlfriend was coming out to stay, and he knew he was going to propose. I can't remember how the idea came about, but it was I thought it was a good idea to get this on film, to do it in the middle. I think he had the idea of like having an actual fake scene that he would be shooting, and then he'd come over to her, and we just made sure that we were there to capture this amazing moment. And it really was special. I mean, what a special thing to witness and to be there for, and to get on film, and to it's a lovely moment. I really wanted to end the film with it, because I just thought, you've gone through a lot with Bav, and I think it's lovely to see. Well, it's obviously Asim as in a real a real life moment that's very special and very, very sweet. So I really hope people hang on and watch that at the end of the credits.
Yes, it is indeed. It is sweet indeed. And listen, we discussed about comedians a little bit before. As a director, is there any space for actors to improvisation, since comedy sometimes features improvisation? How is it your relationship with that?
Yeah, I mean, I love improvisation. It's and it's something that I want on set. It's like, from my perspective, you've got the scene written, we get the scene as written, we make sure we get everything. We make sure we get all the beats, and then if there's any time at all I want to improvise, and at least try some improvising. It's different for different actors. Some people really enjoy improvising and want to improvise, and some people don't. but I think if there's ever like a really good improviser, like Asim is an amazing improviser. And of course Maria did a lot of improvising when she did Borat, you know. So if you've got these actors who are up for it and good at it, then it's crazy not to have that talent and that ability, and not try and, you know, and see what gold you can get. You know, so I am very open to improvising. I'm very open to ideas as well. I mean, you know, I remember Asim had like lots of ideas that he brought into onto set or into the writing process, where, you know, he'd say, oh, maybe my character could do this or that, and, you know, and I'm like, great, yeah, let's do that, let's try it. So very open to improv, very open to trying things, because you never know what you can get. Yeah.
And what about you? Any upcoming projects? Are you going to take a little break right now? Well-deserved break, I would like to add.
You're
What's
very
next
kind.
for you?
You're the only person saying that. Well, other people saying I deserve a break. I'm writing another script to be set in Italy, actually. So I have that. I'm also doing another film that I'm writing for the producers at the estate. So you know, a little break from directing, you know, at least until I've got my next script like written and ready to go. But you know, I'll be back on there, you know, probably quite soon if I can. We'll see what happens. You never know with this business, do you?
That sounds good. This sounds good. And I mean, it's great to hear that you still have, you know, plenty of projects. And yeah, I've actually finished my questions. Do you have any last messages you would like to share with us today?
Any messages?
Yeah.
Not really. I just, you know, I just hope that people see the honeymoon and, you know, enjoy it. I think it's a really, you know, I think that especially at the time we made it, which was in 21, you know, where everyone's going through a tough time, and we're still going through a tough time. And you know, I think we all wanted to make something that was just fun, you know, just a fun time to, you know, to give audiences a little bit of a break from, you know, the other stuff, the heavier stuff that goes on in the world. So, you know, that's the idea, and I hope that audiences get that sort of fun time from it.
Dean, thank you very much for giving us a little bit of your time today. Best of luck with all your upcoming projects, and hopefully I will hear again from you in the future.
I hope so. Thank you. Very nice to meet you.